Okay, trying this again. Again. So, this summer I worked at Eagle Village, as you guys may or may not know. I think I told some of you. But it's a summer camp up in Michigan for kids from troubled backgrounds or with like trauma or basically kids who wouldn't be able to make it at a normal summer camp because they need more care and attention or like that kind of thing. So, worked at Eagle Village this summer. It was such an awesome experience. But boy, were there stories. So, the first 3 weeks of being at Eagle Village is just training because, we're serving kids who need more effort and attention and specialized training, so they can't just get thrown in there like a normal summer camp. So a lot of the training was like trauma-informed care and how to like build rapport with the kids, form those connections, and also how to de-escalate them, like help them talk through what they're feeling, help them not take out their anger in unhealthy ways, because that's not fun for anyone. And like worst case scenario, you had to learn benevolent restraints, which are basically just holds that you would do on the camper to stop them from hurting themselves or others. And the only time you do a benevolent restraint is if they are like an active threat to themselves or someone else. So that was awesome. Training was super fun. You got to know all the other staff members, and they're all amazing. The summer only went as well as it did because of how awesome the other staff members were. Like, it was such a good team. But there were also only four male staff members, me being one of them, out of like 23. So they had like 4 dudes and a whole bunch of girls. And it was great because, all the women were amazing and really stepped up to help us out because it would not have worked if it was just us 4 for all the male camps, for the boy camps. They did an amazing job. And the first actual camp was 9 to 11-year-old age group. And everyone, all the returners told us, like, okay, this is going to be the most hyperactive group, the most crazy. Probably not the worst, but like, it'll be crazy, basically. So I was kind of worried because, we'd never actually done any of this before. We just got the training. Who knows how well it'll actually translate over. But overall, it was a really good week. It was crazy. There is like no free time, just campers all the time. We basically worked 22-hour days all summer because you'd be at the campers. If you'd sleep in the same cabin as the campers. You'd be with them all day. And each of the staff members would get a 2-hour break each day to go shower, change your clothes, do all that awesome stuff. And it was a lot, but it was a lot of fun too. So, because it was the first ever camp of the summer, none of us knew what we were doing. So, at one point, it was me and Jason, one of the other male staff members. He was also my fellow cabin leader. So it was him and I in the Lego room, pretty much, with this one camper who really didn't want to go to the next activity, which is campfire. He just wanted to stay and build Lego, which was awesome, but like also we can't, we couldn't just stay with him all day and not do any of the other activities because we had to be with the other campers too and not just do Lego all day. So this camper is very stubborn, really didn't, I'm gonna call him Abe because we can't use a real name, so Abe is his new name now to not violate HIPAA. Yeah, so it was me, Jason, and Abe. Abe was sitting in a chair because he told him, like, you can't build Legos, we have to go to a campfire. He's like, nope, not doing it. Okay, whatever. Sit in this chair and be bored. That's great. Way to waste your time. So he's sitting in the chair. We're trying to think of ways to get him to go to a campfire and be excited about it. And this one is totally my fault because at some point during training, someone said, like, hey, like, there are going to be times when campers don't want to go to the next thing. They just want to stay there, whatever. And I don't remember who said it, but one person, like, yeah, like, they found that, like, just annoying them can be a great motivator sometimes. Like, they said if campers didn't want to get out of bed, they would just, like, jingle their keys really loudly or clap or do something annoying so they want to leave. It's like, huh, that's a great idea. So I look over at Jason, I'm like, hey, Mr. Jason, I think I kind of feel like singing. What about you? He's like, he didn't know what I was doing. Like, yeah, that's great, Mr. Noah. So, me thinking that this was the most genius plan ever starts belting out like 99 bottles of milk on the wall, 99 bottles of milk, pass one down, take one down, pass it around, 98 bottles of milk on the wall. You know, you keep going. He joins in. We're singing the milk bottle song. And Abe, you know, was pretending he wasn't bothered by it. But he'd like, hey, it's not working, guys. Like, I don't care. You can do whatever. Like, oh, sorry. Like, huh. I forgot what song we're on. Like, I forgot what milk bottle we're on. Let's go back to the top. 99 bottles of milk on the wall. We just start all the way over. Like, every time he'd interrupt, we'd do that. Like, hey, if only we could go to campfire and stop singing this song. But he just wasn't having it. And he's getting more and more escalated the more we sang it. Like, he'd pretend it wasn't bothering him, but he'd be like, oh, I don't care. It's not bothering me. I don't care. Stop it! Shut up! And like, okay, like, hey, do you want to go to campfire? No, I'm not going to campfire. Like, okay, we'll keep singing. So we kept singing the song. He starts to get more and more escalated and annoyed. So he's like sitting on this chair backwards like a cool kid. Starts rocking it back and forth like, oh, can't let you do that. So we're holding the chair down now. And now he's mad that we're holding the chair down and not letting him rock it and probably fall and hurt himself. So starts crawling on the floor and like banging his head on the floor, which is really not good. So now I'm like on the floor, like trying to hold my hands between his head and the floor so he can't hurt himself. And now he's trying to like crawl out of the way under the tables. And I really didn't want to put him in the benevolent because obviously like he's hitting his head on the floor, but it wasn't hard enough to actually like hurt him. Like it'd just be temporary, maybe a bruise or something, but that's it. And I was hoping that Jason would also have the same idea because I didn't want to, you know, put him in the benevolent restraint when it really didn't need to happen. Thankfully, he had the same idea, you know, so we're getting the chairs and tables out of the way so he can't hide from us. We're stopping him from hitting his head as best we can. But this goes on for a while, actually. So eventually, he goes way back in the corner of the room, under, like, there's tons of tables between him and us, starts banging his head even harder. Like, okay, this is actually kind of bad now. So we call in Mr. Sean, our boss, like, the camp person, and he comes in to help. We're like getting tables and chairs out of the way, moving them over so we can clear the way to him. And at one point, Mr. Sean grabs the table, tries to lift it up, trips over something, like a chair or something in the back. I think, actually, okay, so here's what I think happened. So he was trying to pick up a table that Abe was hiding under. I think, you know, he's lifting it back, and I think Abe, like, whether on accident or on purpose, like, pushed back or, like, bumped into the table. So, like, man, they go flying back. Mr. Sean goes flying over. He's lying on his back with the table. And we're just like, oh, crap. Like, that's not good. Still trying to stop, you know, going in to grab Abe so we can't hurt himself anymore. So, me and Mr. Sean ended up putting him in the benevolent restraint. Basically, each of us had one arm so that he couldn't, you know, keep hitting his head and stuff. And, like, we used the Aegis certification, which is designed so that, obviously, it's not hurting the person in the benevolent restraint, but it does immobilize them so that they can't move around and hit themselves or hurt other people, all that lovely stuff. So it was kind of awesome to have my first benevolent restraint be with, you know, our boss, who's done this a million times, so that I was extra sure I wasn't screwing things up. But now we're just, like, holding him there, and Abe starts freaking out and screaming and, like, blowing my eardrums out pretty much. And it's not fun, but, like, I don't know. I think it would have been more traumatizing if I hadn't known that, like, the restraint isn't hurting him. He's just freaking out because, you know, he's not getting what he wants. And obviously it's probably pretty scary to be locked up and not able to move without, you know, the other people letting you go. But he's basically screaming bloody murder and freaking out. And when they're this, like, agitated, obviously you can't really reason with them. They're just, like, fully, like, animal instincts taking over. So you just have to kind of wait for them to chill out and calm down. So we're in the restraint for a while. He calms down eventually, you know, and it's kind of like a reset, oddly enough, sometimes. Like, he's in the restraint, freaking out, then he starts to wind down. You know, once it's obvious that he's not a threat to himself or others, and he can, like, articulate to us his plan for being safe, and the fact that he's not gonna, you know, try to hurt himself or others anymore. We let him go. He just, you know, lies down on the floor, takes a nap, ironically. And when he wakes up, he's perfectly fine and happy and, like, super chipper and ready to go do everything. So it was awesome and great. And, you know, we move on, we go to dinner, do all that stuff. Actually, that was like a pretty bad day. That was Wednesday of Base Camp 1. That's what it was called, that age group. So, you know, we kind of chill with him until dinner time because obviously it was too late for campfire. So we also, like, after every benevolent restraint, we have to have a debrief with the person in the restraint to make sure that they know that it wasn't a punishment. It was just to keep them safe and to keep others safe from them. And that, you know, like, make sure they know why it happened and how it happened and that they're not in trouble and that we don't hate them, obviously. So we take them outside, like these picnic tables, to eat dinner and talk about it. And we have the whole debrief, and it's awesome. But while that's happening, or sorry, right after that, so that happens, we talk to him, it's great. You know, he realizes, like, he knew why it happened. He understood. Wasn't mad about it. So we send him off to go play. Now it's time for Jason and I, and Marley, another staff member, to eat. And while we're eating, like, we're just about to start eating our food, we get a call over the radio, like, hey, like, we're on the trail. We have walkie-talkies all the time, by the way. You get called on the radio, like, hey, like, we're on the trail, we need backup. There's, like, a situation going on. Which is basically just how you say that there's a restraint going on without all the campers freaking out. So Jason and I are like, oh crap, like, we gotta go. So we, like, book it down this trail to go try and find wherever we're supposed to go to be helpful. We ended up taking there's like a fork in the trail. We took the wrong one, like, over the radio, like, hey, we're actually on the peak trail, not this trail. Like, oh, okay, double back, run around. We get there, and the other female staff members had this kid in the restraint. I don't remember what for. I think he was trying to hurt himself with the sticks and stuff, which is also not good. But yeah, it was chill. They let him go. He was fine. I mean, he was still mad, but just walking around. We were giving him some space. He's just walking down the trail. He had a stick in his hand, which is kind of a no-no because sticks are very good at hitting things and people. But once again, he's, like, tiny. You know, they're 9 to 11-year-olds, so he can't really do anything. More worried about him hurting himself than him hurting us. So we're following him, trying to get him to, like, put down the stick, but, like, not say, like, hey, like, how far do you think you can throw that, bud? And he would throw it. And he was still kind of mad, but at one point, it's like, hey, like, do you want to see if we can race back to, like, where everyone else is and play Gaga Ball and all that? He was like, yeah, let's race. Like, okay, let's do it. So we get ready to race and do all the stuff and runs all the way back to wherever all the other kids were. And it was, like, chill after that. So that was nice. That was a win. So then we go back to eat. Finally get a chance to eat our food. But that wasn't the end of the craziness for that day, because later that night in the cabin, so, you know, there's me and Jason, the two cabin leaders, male cabin leaders, and then there's two other female cabin leaders who don't stay in the cabin overnight. Did I explain this, or was that in the last video? Because there's only 4 male staff, we'd have, like, you know, additional female staff who would be cabin leaders who would do everything but sleep in the cabin with the kids. So they'd be there from, like, sun up to sundown. They'd only go back to their cabins at night to sleep once all of the campers were asleep in the other cabin. So they were super awesome. We would not have survived without them. But we're in the cabin, and, you know, the campers are all, like, crazy and super energetic all the time and just causing trouble. So I'm trying to remember exactly what started this, but 2 campers. It was Abe and another camper. It doesn't really matter who he was. Don't even need to give him a nickname. So Abe and another camper were spraying each other's water bottles and just, like, friendly rivalry, but also, like, making a mess and causing trouble for everyone else. So, like, Abe and another camper, like, stop spraying each other water bottles. Like, we will have to take them if you keep doing that. They're like, oh, no, you won't. Like, you know, being little rebels. So, okay, if you do that one more time, like, I am going to take your water bottle and put it somewhere safe until you're ready to be responsible with it. So, of course, he sprays the kid. Abe sprays the other kid one more time. Like, okay, great. So, like, you know, I reach over and grab his water bottle. Then he starts kind of freaking out. He was on his bed by this point, by the way. Like, they have bunk beds. He's on the lower bunk, sitting in the middle of the bunk, spraying people with his water bottle. So now I'm standing right beside the bunk, holding his water bottle. He's trying to grab it. like getting more and more annoyed. Like, hey, like, we'll give you your water bottle back if you can show me that you're ready to be responsible with it and not hitting people with it and, like, spraying people. He's not listening. He's just like being mad. Starts getting more and more mad. He gives up and trying to grab it because obviously he's not strong enough. So he starts like throwing stuff at me. I don't even know what. Like, paper and random toys and stuff, like all in the face. It was great. And then apparently the other staff members told me that he like did a full wind up and popped me right in the face. Honestly, I don't remember. Like, I remember that he punched me, but I don't feel like it was hard at all or even hurt. I think they say I literally just like took the punch and didn't even react, which is awesome. So once that happened, one of the other female staff members, Marty, was like, okay, like, yep, that's enough. Time to go into restraint, which probably wasn't necessary at that point. But, like, it was justified enough. Like, I would have held back, but it wasn't like it was an inappropriate time to do it. So she's on one side of the bed, I'm on the other, like, put him in the restraint. I've got one arm, she's got the other. He starts freaking out and yelling again, screaming pretty much. And now all the other kids in the cabin, it's like 8 other kids, are just like watching him like freak out and crash out, and they're traumatized. There's this one like poor little angel of a boy who's just perfect all week long. He was in the bed next to him, just like freaking out. It was really sad. I feel so bad for him. He was the best. But all the other campers are freaking out. So we're like, okay, like we should get him outside now, actually. So at this point, Sky, one of the full-time staff members, came in, and he's awesome. He's like big, beefy dude, terrifies all the campers, which is awesome because they need it sometimes. But he comes in to help someone radioed for him. So he's like, yep, like we're going outside. We don't want all the other kids to witness this because that's not good for them. It's also not good for the person in the restraint because it's super humiliating, obviously. So we start walking him outside. He's like fighting us the whole while. It's just walking him. And then at one point, while we're outside, it's also raining, by the way, just to make things better. So as we're walking outside, Abe ends up tripping Marley. So she like falls over. I was still like kind of trying to hold him. So Sky's like, all right, like Marley, let go. I'm swooping in. So he goes on, takes over from Marley. We walk him to this picnic table between the cabins. And I think we held him for a little bit. Then he was still freaking out pretty much. But because he was away from other people, we just let him go. He goes in the picnic table, just hanging out there, freaking out. Also, the cabins that we were staying at were like a stone's throw away from the motels where other guest groups stay. Because the best part about Eagle Village is that it's not just the crazy campers on camp. No, Eagle Village also has other guest groups, which are just like schools, band camps, runners, like just normal. Okay, that's, you know what I mean, like general population people just hanging out there while all these campers with special needs are running around and like, causing chaos. So the cabins we were staying at were just a stone's throw away from these motels where all this, like this, there's a whole bunch of like high school girls. So they can like, they start walking back to their motels while Abe is just screaming bloody murder and saying that he wants to kill all women and he hates all women, wishes they were all dead. He hates his mom. And just like screaming all this awful stuff. And like we can't do anything about it. So all these poor high school girls are gonna get traumatized by Abe screaming, because why not? It's great. So while he's under the picnic table, Sky's kind of talking to him, but obviously Abe wasn't in a super great place to talk yet. But Sky's talking to him, trying to calm him down, or like letting him get these emotions out, process a little bit, as much as he can when he's this escalated. So while this is happening, Abe is like picking up sticks and trying to like hurt himself with them. And I was like, so like, Sky, like, should we like do something about that? And he was like, nah, like if it was, it was raining, the sticks were wet. They weren't like, actually, they're so brittle that he couldn't even do anything if he tried. Like worst case scenario, he's going to have a few scrapes, but nothing permanent. Like And he's like, like if he grabs something he could actually do damage with, that's when we swoop in and restrain him again. But if he's just like, half-heartedly trying to scrape himself with a stick for attention, we don't really need to lock him up for that. So he's, scraping himself with sticks, talking to Sky. Sky's helping him, like, process some of this, and it turns out that, okay, pretty much all the campers' parents are pretty terrible people. That's, like, the kids have issues, but it's because the parents have issues and are terrible at their jobs, which is really awful, because, like, I don't know, it's hard to have the campers there for a week, and then you send them back to their, like, awful home lives, and just hope that what you did was enough to help carry them through. You just give them some reprieve from all the awful stuff they have to deal with at home. But, Abe's talking to Mr. Sky, and they're kind of, making progress, figuring out, like, why he's freaking out so much. But at one point, Abe finds a nail on the ground and starts trying to scratch himself with it. Like, okay. So Sky and I swoop in from both sides of the picnic table. Abe is still under it, so, like, I have an arm. It's a really awkward angle. We learned this technique for how to get stuff out of someone's hands if they're obviously holding stuff that they shouldn't be. So I grab the nail, put it in my pocket. We let him go again because he was freaking out even more. And we were there for a while, boys. It was crazy. So eventually he calmed down enough to go back to the cabin and basically just went straight to sleep. I stayed outside and talked to some of the other staff members, just process life and, figure out what just happened, what needed to be done. So you also have to fill out paperwork after each benevolent restraint or incident. So that's also awesome. Just like why it happened, all that stuff. So they can review if it was justified, if they need to like let anyone know or anything happens. I don't know. Just bookkeeping purposes. So that was great. That was a fun night. That was Crash Out Wednesday. The rest of the week was bad, but not as bad. The main problem with almost all the camps was that meal times were awful. Always. The campers would never... They couldn't just sit there and eat in peace. They always had to, like, be fighting each other, beefing, or just being stupid. So it was always, like, a frantic rush to eat your food. Then kids would be, like, talking trash. You have to shut that down. Or, like, trying to break out of the lunchroom for some reason. It was bad. And, like, base camp 1, the first week of camp, for some reason, there was one camper who, like, started acting like a dog as a joke, but then the entire rest of the cabin started doing it all the time. And, like, they wouldn't listen to any of the staff members, and they were acting like dogs. They just bark and, like, like, run up to each other and annoy them, and it was awful. It was great. It was a fun time. Oh, also, there's... I don't even know how to explain it. There's one camper who just really liked to cause trouble. Like, anytime any kind of conflict would start, he would, like, be there, like, try to make it worse. Like, yeah, like, you're stupid. Like, this kid said that you're ugly. Like, just trying to cause beef for no reason. And for some reason, he'd start singing, like, the chicken, banana, but, like, using it to annoy other people. Like, at one point, he was, like, singing the chicken and banana song, and just because he knew it would make this other kid mad. So this other kid was about to punch the chicken banana kid. So we're having to, like, step in, like, you, like, stop singing the chicken banana song. Stop trying to punch him. It's, like, getting between all their stupid arguments all the time. So, like, now the two of them, like, getting ready to, like, beat each other up. And obviously, we're holding them back and, like, stopping them from getting near each other. But, like... This one kid is, like, trying to punch the other kid. He's like, chicken, banana, like, trying to swing at him. It was the craziest thing ever. It was so much fun. So that was the first week, pretty much. After that, we had Project Survive, which is it's a 9-day long camp, which is insane. Like, double length of normal camp. Normal camp is 5 nights. It's 9 days. And... how it worked for us boys, it was us 4 male staff members. And we had 9 campers. So there were 3 tent leaders technically, and 1 like project lead person who didn't have campers assigned to him, but he would step in wherever he was needed. So all of us male staff members had 3 campers. And basically we'd go on I think it was 5 nights on the trail, 5-night long camping trip. 5-night long camping trip where we would hike 35 miles. It was a backpacking trip. We'd backpack 35 miles over the course of 5 nights. And it would have been a super fun time if we didn't have campers. It was still fun with the campers, but the hardest parts were we had 3 boys who were all bullies and basically came together to become friends so they could bully everyone else. And they wouldn't really listen to staff members. And they were like, it was basically a gang, like little thug campers running around causing problems and like thinking that they're like the coolest stuff ever. And they were literally the most cringy people I've ever seen in my entire life. But like, I don't know. They weren't in the same tent at first, but eventually, because they were making so much trouble and like making everyone else uncomfortable, we had to put them in the same tent. And it was a bad idea. They were okay. So we had 2 gay kids, 2 gay campers, and the 2 gay campers were like the least gay people there because the 3 stooges were always like on top of each other, like cuddling, like being inappropriate all the time. It was so annoying to shut it down every 2 seconds. So that was awesome. So that was like one of the main problems. And the other was that all the kids were pretty whiny and didn't want to hike very much at all. A lot of them didn't want to be there in the first place. Their parents forced them to. So there were a couple kids who, like, pretty much every day on the trail, they're like, wow, I don't want to do this. I'm not doing this. I'm just going to stay here. Leave me here to die. Just go on without me. Like, I'm not doing this. Or they've threatened to run away and go home, even though there's no way of doing that because they don't have any way to contact their parents or no way to walk home, so they don't know where they are. So, yeah. Like, there were a lot of times you just have to sit there for like a half hour and talk this kid into not dying on the trail and walking the last couple miles to the campsite for the night. It was great practice for building others up. So that happened a whole lot. I think I'm trying to remember if there were any particularly crazy stories. I mean, like, there were things that happened, but none that were, like, crazy enough to talk about, any more so than anything else that happened at camp. It was just a really exhausting week. But there were fun parts. There was one kid, he was my guy. Like, if he didn't have parents, I would adopt him. I'd still adopt him if he does have parents, but he was just, like, the coolest dude. He was, like, a little nature bro. Like, he just knew about all the animals, and all he wanted to do was go look for salamanders. And he was basically another staff member, because he never, like, crashed out, never acted up. He was just awesome the whole time. And he was the best kid ever. Not that I have favorites, but he was amazing. So, after Project Survive, I think we had some downtime, because there was a female, like wait, maybe, I don't know, or it doesn't matter, but the next camp that I was a part of was Frontier Boys 1, which is boys from the age of, I think it's 11 to 14. So they're a little older, like less energy, but more craziness, unfortunately. And this was the worst week of camp, by far. It was bad. We had there was a couple kids who just didn't want to be there and just like hated everything. And because of that, they kind of made everyone else hate it too. But like, so there's this one kid who I'm going to call Mark. And Mark was, I mean, he'd been through some trauma, and he really thought that telling everyone else about the trauma he'd been through was a good way of making friends. But all it really did was give all the other kids ammunition to make fun of him. All Mark wanted was to make friends, but he wasn't very good at it and wasn't super great at, like, social interaction. So all the other kids made fun of him, pretty much. Not all of them. There's, like, one who was kind of friends with him, but the rest, like, didn't like him very much. which wasn't great, you know, wasn't fine, but they would kind of fight, wasn't that bad until one day. I don't remember how it started, but pretty much they were beefing, you know, making fun of each other. They said some pretty awful stuff to him, and then he responds by calling them all the N-word. And Mark is the whitest little kid I've ever seen in my entire life. So, you know, this little white kid is calling all these, like, you know, some like African American, some white like him, but he's calling them all the N-word. And they flipped out. They were trying to kill him. It was insane. Like, okay, like, Mark, you're leaving. We're going. We're separating you right the frick now. You know, we got him out of there. Okay, we had to talk to, like, okay, you can't say the N-word. Like, I don't care what they said to you. What they said was awful. You can't say that. It was bad. Like, no one can say the N-word here at camp. That's not camp appropriate. Have this whole talk. He's kind of listening, but also like, yeah, I do it again. So, you know, we're trying to calm things down. Someone else was talking to the rest of the kids. I was with Mark and Zoe from Taylor. We're trying to figure this out, like, you know, help calm him down, help him see why that's not okay. And then I think some of the other kids came back out, and he just starts calling them the N-word again instantly. Like, it was so bad. So from that point on, like, we basically kept them all apart because they were literally planning to try and kill him. Like, they were talking about how they're gonna, like, wait till all the staff members went to sleep, then wake up in the middle of the night in the cabin and, like, you know, hang him or something stupid. So that was really not okay. So we basically, Mark ended up sleeping in one of the motels. No, he slept in a different cabin, actually, because obviously, you know, like, they probably wouldn't actually kill him because they're just kids and they're all full of talk, but also, like, they would, you know, try to hurt him, and it would have been really bad, and we just kept stirring up conflict. So we're trying to stop that from happening. And then I don't know what day that was, maybe Wednesday. Then Crash Out Thursday was insane. It was the craziest day of the entire summer, I think. So it all kind of started. So campfires at 4 p.m. I was with another camper trying to motivate him to come to campfire again. Different camper this time. This camper was chill. He just didn't want to be with the other boys because they were fighting all the time and saying awful stuff. So everyone else is already at campfire. I'm coming behind a little bit late with this one kid. Like, hey, thank you for coming to campfire. Appreciate you being willing to work with me. That's awesome. So we are going up the trail to campfire, and we just walk out to see, like, everyone freaking out and beefing, you know. There's one kid already in restraint. There's, like, staff members trying to keep all these other kids apart, so trying to beat each other up. They're all freaking out. It's awful. So I later found out that Mark had gone to campfire and started fighting the same kids again and throwing a rock at them. So it was great. It was a big rock too, apparently. Missed them, thankfully missed everyone, but still freaked them out and they wanted to kill him again. So yeah, split everyone up. Well, we tried to. We kind of lost control and kids started running everywhere. It was awful. Like, we got Mark out of the way so they wouldn't kill him, but there were, let me think. 1, 2, 3. I think there were like 4 boys who were like the main troublemakers, pretty much. And they were all running around trying to find Mark. They ended up running from campfire to, like, the main, like, activity building, I guess. The Lego room, same place as the previous crash out from Abe the other week of camp, but they go into this activity room, and it's like a conference room, basically. There's a TV in the wall, you know, chairs and tables, all this stuff. So I got this mini fridge, a water cooler. So they're all freaking out and super pissed off because they are mad at us for not, like, beating up Mark. Obviously, we're not going to beat up Mark, but, like, you know, they thought that because they didn't see any kind of, like, punishment for Mark, that he wasn't getting in trouble for saying the N-word. Obviously, that's not true. So they're freaking out. And it was just me in this room with I think it was 5 campers. And they were just going crazy. Like, one of them found the TV remote and was, like, trying to watch TV. which was great. Another one was just pouring water on the floor from the water cooler. Another one was like looking in the mini fridge and like throwing stuff around. Someone else was like trying to dump a water bottle on me, spraying water in my face. It was insane, guys. So I managed to grab the TV remote, stop the kid from pouring water on the floor, got all the stuff back in the mini fridge. I'm trying to calm them down, just like talk about it, but they think they see their friends, so like run out this other door, past this kid who was like feeling bad, had a headache from dehydration, I think. So he's trying to relax in the room attached to the Lego room. They all go storming through, like yelling and freaking him out, and just causing even more trouble. It was a bad day. Long story short, we got them all calmed down somewhat. They never got it through their heads that this wasn't a prison camp, that we were trying to have fun, but the fact that they kept crashing out meant we couldn't do anything but just, like, keep them apart, So, it wasn't a very fun week, because they would just act up every 2 seconds. I think it was that same night at dinner, they were still mad, because one of their friends had been put in a restraint, because he was trying to beat up everyone else, like, actually hurt them. So he got put in restraint. He was fine, obviously, but they were just like, they wanted to go one of their friends had been in a restraint, and their other friend from a different cabin, they thought was in a restraint currently. This was, their other friend was in a restraint. We were all at dinner trying to eat, and this one kid, who was not very smart, honestly. I think he might have had some, like, cognitive delays, but he really wanted, well, okay. So they were all freaking out that their friends in restraint, like, hey, like, we're trying to kill, like, guys, like, he's okay. Some kid was trying to stir up trouble, and it's like, yeah, like, they're kicking him, like, they're, like, suffocating him, he can't breathe. Like, obviously, this isn't happening, because that's not how restraints work. Just this one kid trying to cause problems, but all the other kids were super riled up. We're explaining to him, like, that's not happening. I can promise you he's okay. Like, they know what they're doing. They're not hurting him. Like, we would not be a camp if that was happening to campers. But they weren't really having it. They were still freaking out. And one of the kids is like, hey, like, Mr. No, can I go to the bathroom? And I'm like, okay, like, sure, buddy. So he starts, like, sprinting with a fork in his hand. I just, like, saw as he left. I'm like, crap. Now I gotta go chase after him. So he runs out of the lunchroom, outside, past this guest group. I think it was a band camp or something. Just like, general population people who have no idea what's going on. And this camper is like running up there screaming like he's gonna stab the staff members to like save his friend. So I'm sprinting after him, like, waving to the band camp. I'm like, hey guys, like, don't worry, this is fine. I got it. You're good. Go and eat. You're fine. Sprinting after this kid with the fork, he's trying to stab people. I catch up to him pretty quickly because he's not that fast. Grab the fork, throw it away. It's like, okay, like, can we just talk? Trying to guide him away so he's not running after these people. And he kind of calms down once he realizes that he's not faster than me. We go back inside. He's like, oh, my bad, bro. I'm like, oh, let's go wait for you. Like, they're just crazy and impulsive and insane. But I think that was the last major incident from that week. They just hated each other up until the very end. All the campers still hated Mark, but everyone went home safe, and they never have to see each other again, so it's fine. What other camps did we have? I think we had another Boys Frontier 2. It was a lot more chill. There were still issues, but much less so. It was mostly just campers misbehaving and not following instructions, which was really annoying, but not very good story stuff. The last Project Survive, so we had 2, was a whole lot better than the first one, in my opinion. We had less, like, campers who thought they were cool, and more just, okay, the last Project Survive, all the boys were super lazy. They didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to carry the tent, didn't want to carry food, didn't want to set up the tent. They were just incredibly lazy, which meant that we went really slow because you had to, like, motivate them every 2 seconds. Like, you got this. You're not gonna die. Just, you can keep walking. You're so tough, so brave. Like, you're such a trooper. It was crazy. But, yeah, we definitely had some crash outs, which was awesome. Yeah, there were lots of people who didn't know how to handle their emotions well and just didn't know how to not fight people about it all the time. But the best part of the entire summer is that I convinced my friends to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. Well, I tried to. We're having a staff movie night. We should watch K-pop Demon Hunters. They'd never heard of it. They put on the first 10 minutes, like, wow, this is stupid. So that broke my heart. I hadn't seen it yet, by the way. I just heard that it was amazing, and it looked awesome. So we didn't watch it that time, but another weekend, I was like, hey, we should all go to the, like, you know, staff movie night and watch K-pop Demon Hunters. And I got enough people interested that we did it, and it was awesome. And I think I enjoyed it a lot more than everyone else, but that's fine. Because the second project, Survive, we had this one kid named CJ, you know, obviously it's not his name, fake name CJ, who was like absolutely cracked at singing, like the most beautiful voice ever. And the entire trip, he was just singing the K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. Like, we bonded so much over K-pop Demon Hunters with him and some other campers. Like, I don't know, it was actually incredible. So, all I'm saying is, God was watching out for us by having me suggest K-pop Demon Hunters and us actually watch it. It was so much fun. Yeah, the worst part of the trail was on one of the... I don't remember how long the trail. It was towards the end of the trip. We were having issues with lots of campers just like basically giving up and not wanting to walk anymore. And when one person stops, we all have to wait. So then, you know, like, we had some staff members talking to the one kid who's like not wanting to walk, and everyone else is just sitting there getting antsy. We were like stuck on the side of the trail for like an hour or more. It felt like forever. But these campers found this dead tree, and it was like really dead. Basically, like, it had fallen over, but it was still like supported on this other tree. And like, it was starting to kind of get hollowed out. That's weird. It's starting to get hollowed out, like a big scoop taken out of it. So they're like, you know, trying to break more with their walking sticks. And I was fine with it until they actually started like making really good progress, and like there was barely anything holding the tree left together. Like, I was like, okay, guys, like, if you keep doing this, the tree is gonna fall on you and will probably die. So I didn't say that, but you know, the tree's gonna fall on you, and I don't want you guys getting hurt, so let's stop whacking the tree. And they're really stubborn. Of course, like, oh, like, no, I don't care. I'm doing what I want. You can't make me not be a tree. So that was great. So they just keep whacking at it and making it even more precarious. And the guys, like, I need you to listen to me. We're not going to keep doing this to the tree. I'm going to get in so much trouble if you bring this tree down and get hurt. I don't think I said that either, but I was just like, yeah, you can't do this. It's not okay. Thankfully, before they brought the tree down, like, we got back on the trail and kept walking, but we were like this close from having a tree fall on the camper. Several campers, actually. Speaking of trees falling on campers, we have to do bear bags every night, which is just, you get all our food, it was in these bags, you'd roll them up so that, you know, it'd be theoretically airtight to keep the smells from getting out. And we take these food bags and hang them up on a tree. So, you tie it to a rope, throw the rope over the tree, pull them up so that the bears and raccoons, mostly raccoons, couldn't get to them. But this was the first project Survive. The first time Jason and I ever did a bear bag. We had these campers with us to try to help. Mostly just get them out of the way so they wouldn't cause trouble. But we found this pretty, like, it was a pretty perfect branch, but it looked kind of dead. So, okay, this could be perfect. We want to make sure it's strong enough. So we throw the rope over. And now I'm looking at this branch now. I'm like, I don't know, but I don't think this is going to hold. Like, I think we should definitely test this before we put any weight on it. So we're like getting ready to test it. He has one end, I'm holding the other. And the two campers are like right beside us. I'm like, I'm looking at them, looking at the branch, like, you know what? You guys should like back up more. So they back up a little bit, like, back up even more. Because I really didn't want anyone getting hurt from a tree branch on the first night of the trail. So they get way out of the way. So now Jason and I, the branch is here. We're on either side with the ropes. You're ready to like pull down to see if it, actually holds. So we back up even more so there's more distance between us and the branch. We give it like one pull and the entire massive branch just falls down. And we just look over at each other like, yep, I'm glad we tested that without the campers right underneath it, because that would have been bad. We didn't kill any campers at any of the camps. It was great. It was perfect. I don't... I'm sure there are more stories. I'm probably forgetting some, but I think those are the main ones. Overall, it was such an awesome experience. The staff members really made it. It would have been awful if the staff members hadn't been as awesome as they were. So they really carried so hard. Love each and every one of them. And now summer's over and it's almost time for college. So that's crazy. Yeah. 10 out of 10 experience. Grew as a person. Learned so much about interacting with people and de-escalation skills and how to stop someone from hurting themselves and others. I am definitely going to have to put my tailor friends in restraints at some point. It's got to happen. But yeah, that was the summer. It was super awesome. Definitely recommend working at Eagle Village if you want crazy life experience and awesome stories. My one regret is that I never got a scar from any of the campers. I was really hoping that would happen. It's probably a good thing that it didn't, but I was hoping. It would have been awesome. Yeah, that's my summer.